I'm J.R. Church. Welcome to today's analysis of the news. There's something special about the 1947 resolution passed by the United Nations on the two states that would eventually come into existence. Gary Stearman is here to discuss the past and the future. Gary?
Well, J.R., the past is most interesting. As we discuss the birth of Israel, there is so much to talk about, but it really all focuses down on 47-48. 47, the UN mandate to create a state of Israel. 48, the actual statehood. But, J.R., there was a resolution passed in 1947, part of which included these words, quote, independent Arab and Jewish states and the special international regime for the city of Jerusalem shall come into existence in Palestine, end quote.
Now that's the United Nations.
Yes.
They're the ones who birthed the state of Israel, but their intention was to birth two states. The Palestinian state, independent Arab. Independent Arab. Isn't that amazing?
It
the
is.
Arabs are going to be independent. And the other one is a Jewish state. Do you remember Mr. Netanyahu recently has asked the Palestinian Authority to simply recognize Israel as the Jewish state? And everybody gets all upset about that, you know. And Mr. Mahmoud Abbas says, I'm not ever going to recognize Israel as a Jewish state. Of course, he said that in Arabic. I just haven't, had to put my little spin on it there. But the truth of the matter is, all Netanyahu is wanting to do is to recognize, if Israel was going to recognize the Palestinian state, which I guess they're going to call Palestine, then they should go ahead and recognize what the United Nations first passed and voted on, 33-13. They said there would be an independent Arab, but also a Jewish state. And so he was simply saying, if there's going to be an independent Arab state, I want you to recognize Israel as the Jewish state. But then, the rest of this says, special international regime for the city of Jerusalem. Gary, the United Nations wants to control the city of Jerusalem.
Absolutely, and they want to make it an international city. J.R., exactly what would an international city be? How in the world can you have an international city in the middle of a Jewish and an Arab state?
Yeah, and there'd be two states to that union.
Two states.
And Jerusalem would be the capital of both.
And there would be a district in the middle. We have District of Columbia in the United States,
yes,
where we have our capital and so forth. It looks like they have a similar vision for Israel.
You know, Washington, D.C. is not in any state. It is a separate entity. It is an interstate city, so to speak. And as such, it controls all 50 states. There came a time when states' rights were buried, when the sovereignty of the individual states was no longer recognized. And so Washington, D.C. became the undisputed federal capital of all the various states of the Union, which we call the United States. Well, Gary, the way this resolution reads, one of these days, Israel and Palestine are going to become a United States.
Indeed.
Two United States with Jerusalem as the ruling entity over these two states, and it will be ruled by an international body, not a part of either state, the United Nations. That is exactly what's going to happen in the middle of the tribulation period. When the Antichrist comes into the temple in Jerusalem and says, basically, I'm the Messiah, I am the Mahdi, I am the one both you guys have been looking for, and I am your ruler. Basically, that's what the UN's going to do. It's got to be a UN-driven entity
in order to fulfill prophecy. And Zechariah 12:2 says, behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all people round about, when they shall be in siege both against Judah and against Jerusalem. And in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. Everybody wants a piece of Jerusalem, J.R. It's not to be belong to the Jews. It's to belong to the world. And that concept, that global concept of Jerusalem, I think foresees the Antichrist.
Which means that the Antichrist is going to rule the world from Jerusalem for those last 3.5 years of the tribulation period. Mm-hmm. He is going to establish the United States of the world. I don't know exactly what they'll call it, New World Order, whatever, but he will basically, as representing the United Nations, mm-hmm. will rule all the world from Jerusalem, and every nation under the sun will lose its sovereignty. They will become simply states in the United States of the world. Amazing. But that's what the UN set up in 1947.
So the Lord is actually preparing the geography of the world for a future fulfillment of prophecy. We read about it in the Bible. We daily grow more capable of understanding what's going to happen.
Yeah. And it's coming. It's coming soon, this new world order. They're already plotting and planning for its implementation. And recently, our own president, Barack Obama, had told the king of Jordan that he would like to use the Saudi peace plan for his Middle East policy, with the exception of 2 problems that must be solved. He said, I want you to go back and talk to the Arabs, talk to the Saudis, see if you can get them to agree to this. Number 1, the United Nations would rule Jerusalem. It would not be turned over to the Palestinian Authority. And number 2, the Palestinian refugees would come back to Palestine, not Israel, so that they would settle inside the borders that will be the state of Palestine, not allowed to come into the state of Israel, because 5 million Palestinian refugees coming into an Israeli state, a Jewish state, would simply overturn the economy, overturn the politics, the ruling entity. They would have the vote. There's not that many Jews living in the whole land. And so, what we have here is the setting up for the United Nations to rule Jerusalem in the 2 states, 1 Arab and 1 Jewish, until it's time for the UN to take over and dissolve the sovereignty of both. Amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. And keep on looking up, as we always say, because daily news events are revealing the details of what we're talking about right now as they come to pass.
Yeah. Hope you have a good weekend. We'll see you again on Monday with our analysis of the news.